Let's go on the search for some aliens in SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, published by CGE and designed by Thomas Holleck, who brought us, of course, Galileo Galilei and Teagarden, the star of the show at Essen Spiel. This game is for 1 to 4 players, and it's going to play in about 2.5 to 4 hours. Yeah, that's right. This is a long game. SETI is yet another table hog of a Euro, but that's kind of to be expected these days. You kind of need like almost a 4-foot by 6-foot table these days for most of these heavy Euro games. However, you don't have to do too much in your player area, so you can spread out a little bit. It's mainly all of this massive board. The board consists of a space section here in the center, this kind of outer rim where you're going to explore asteroids and different weirdly planetary things. And then this upper board here, which is kind of an inset of the center board here. This was what's considered in space. This is where you're going to do all of your moon and planet landing and orbiting. And then your alien boards, which just barely fit on the screen. And of course, I've revealed 2 different aliens here. I also upgraded my copy with this little LED light bulb that goes into the sun here. So when it sits on the table, the sun glows. These are available on Amazon, so I'll link to those as well. The goal of SETI is, of course, like most Euros, to have the most points. You're going to do that through trying to become the best space agency out there. You're primarily going to do this through finding different ways to score points. It is a bit of a point salad, which is quite nice. There are 3 different what they call traces: yellow, blue, and pink. And these are the traces that you're going to need in order to discover the alien species. Once you discover the alien species, it unlocks more spaces for you to do scoring. You're primarily going to get your pink traces through scanning the solar system on this kind of outer rim here and winning these sections. This is an area of majority mini game here. The other way you can score points is through landing on planets and moons or orbiting them. By landing, this is primarily how you're going to get the yellow traces. And finally, there are blue traces, which you're going to get through using your computer to scan data. Once you've scanned that data, you get to put one of your markers onto the alien board, which has all of these spots for blue traces. And all of these aliens have different rules for how you can actually utilize these extra spaces for scoring. On your turn, you can do all of the actions you need in order to actually facilitate getting these traces. So on your player board, you have a reminder of all of the actions. So for 2 credits, you can launch, and it's reminding you that you can only have 1 probe at a time, and to move through asteroids costs 2 movement. Another thing you can do is to spend a credit and a energy if you've already got your probe out, and then you can move that probe from the solar system around to a planet. Or you can go ahead and you can land on a planet. If there's already an orbiter there, you get a discount. But you can't land on moons until you've upgraded this technology. The other actions you can do is to scan, so that's going to cost you a credit and 2 energy. You're going to scan from Earth's area, which is really cool here. So you're going to follow this little triangle pattern here, and you're going to be able to scan here. And that's primarily how you're going to get your resources onto the board here. And then you're going to get that data that you can put back in your computer for later. Then you're also going to get to scan a card that is on the board. I don't have any visible right now, but there will be 3 cards on the board. Each one of these has a top section here, and these are all multi-use cards. So when they're out on the board, you're going to only pay attention to the signal that's here, and this will allow you to then place another trace in another signal. So if I picked the red card, I would put it here, I would get this data, and then I would discard that red card, and a new card would come out, and now there's another red card available for someone else. Most actions around the board here for moving your probes around are going to give you publicity. So if I took from here and I moved 2 spaces to Jupiter, I would get a publicity, and that's going to move me up on the publicity check. The action here on your board is reminding you that for 6 publicity, you can upgrade one of your technologies. So first, you're going to rotate the board. This is one of the first cool mechanics of the game, is that the solar system rotates. So your spatial awareness does need to be enact here. So anytime that rotates, the first time I'm going to rotate the yellow arrow. So this is the first yellow arrow. The second time I'm going to rotate the orange arrow. And the third time I'm going to rotate the blue arrow. And so you've noticed that now my probe is in a completely different section of space. Eventually, hopefully it comes all the way around here, and then I only have to move 1 to get to Neptune, because Neptune has a large scoring here. I can get 10 points and a yellow trace if I land on Neptune. Then you can pick an upgrade. You can only have one of each particular upgrade, and the first time you get it, you're going to get 2 points, and then these various ones have actions on the back of them for bonuses, and then this is the reminder of the upgrade here. Once you've taken all your actions, you can pass, and the first person to pass is going to rotate the board, reminded by this token here, and they're going to rotate again, so paying attention to what the board says to rotate. Then you're going to pick one of these cards to put into your hand, and then you're going to take your income. Your income is really interesting here because you're going to tuck cards throughout the game. Once you've actually managed to fill your computer halfway, you're going to be able to tuck an income card. So you can take a card here and you can tuck it under here. You're going to get this benefit immediately, but then at the end of the round, you're going to get all of your income. So I'm going to get 4 credits, 3 energy, and 1 wild card. You have to discard down to 4 cards at the end of the round. Otherwise, you can keep building up your deck here so you can have different actions. This game has multi-use cards, which I quite like. So there are discarding abilities, abilities for when you're searching, and abilities that you can pay for, as well as income, all on one single card. So that's pretty neat there. It is very useful to discard cards for their top action here, if you manage to get the movement ones and the credit and energy ones I found. The publicity ones, not so much. And the data ones are pretty cool, especially if you've upgraded your computer so that you can manage to get more data. You're also going to need this player aid quite often. On the inside, it has all of the different actions that you can do, all of the bonus actions, a reference of all of the icons. On the back is all of the technology tiles and what they do, as well as all of the endgame scoring tiles and how they score. There's not a lot of different mechanics that go on in the game, but there are a lot of these cool little mini games, and there is a lot of puzzling going on to figure out what you want to do in the game. You can really kind of make the space agency that you really want to play, which I quite liked. However, the biggest downside of this game is how long it is. The turns can be pretty quick. However, for some reason, they take quite a long time. The game only plays over 5 rounds. It shouldn't be as long as it is. I want to try it on solo to see how fast I can do it on my own, but I don't think this is a player issue. There is just something about the game that takes a long time. It's really nice that the aliens come up maybe about a quarter into the game, maybe halfway through. And that does change the game a little bit and makes it a little bit more exciting as the downtime comes to happen. But once they're revealed, all you're doing is trying to execute your engine to get traces and get points on the board. It doesn't feel like you're discovering anything anymore. The kind of role-playing aspect of the game really fades off in the second half of the game, which makes it long and boring. Once you do get to the end of the game, there are final scoring mechanics up here on the end of the board that you're going to be able to execute. And so these are random at the end of the game. And so the first person there is going to get the most points, the second and then the third, etc. for these different scoring things. So every time that you have managed to reach a milestone score on the board, there are 3 of them, you're going to be able to place up on the final scoring section there. Overall, I found SETI to be a pretty okay game. If it wasn't as long, I would definitely give it a much higher rating. As of right now, I would definitely feel it's more like a 6, maybe a 6.5 on the BGG scale, just because of how long it is. Otherwise, there's a lot of really cool mechanics going on here, but there's not a lot of table talk. There's not a lot of competition for spaces. There's spaces, of course, big and wide open, right? So game of the year, maybe not so much, but it's definitely something worth checking out. What's really neat here is actually that the games are all produced directly in the Czech Republic. CGE recently bought its own factory. So all of the plastic bits are from recycled materials. All of the lamination process of the punch boards is all done manually. However, these pieces are all counted by weight. So you might want to give these an individual count to make sure you have all the pieces you need. However, these resources aren't that limited. You don't really need to use all of them, so you might not actually run into a problem if you're missing a couple of them. As always, make sure you like and leave a comment, and we will see you next time. Bye!